Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Now we go to additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting. Do we have any?
We have none.
Okay. All right, moving on to public comment. Do we have anyone with public comment?
You need to approve the minutes. You don't-
And they're not on here, right? So we'll do it.
The revised agenda was sent out.
Right, okay, wait, one moment, please. I want to, can we add it right after public comment since we didn't get it?
Whatever you want to do, man.
Okay, so we'll approve the minutes. What dates are we approving?
Only the 14th, there are minutes for the 28th, but can't find them.
Okay, that's April?
Yeah.
14th, yeah. Okay, so we'll do that right after public comment.
14th are included in your packet.
Right, okay. So, public comments on items?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Mitchell, go ahead.
Yeah, Deb. This, you hear me?
Yes.
I'm a little concerned about the selection committee or our police chief, okay? I'm not impressed with Tracy Shriver's antics. We've been wallowing in drugs for 14 years. She's been a prosecutor that long. And she's summarily dismissing some candidates just with the wave of her hand. If anybody needs to dismiss from that committee, is her, okay? Because Bell Falls is wallowing in drugs. And like I said, she's making too many deals with drug dealers. I'm very upset that one of the people that held this village hostage for so many years and created so much insurrection and mayhem and drug dealing only got 2 years of slap on the wrist. You should have gotten life in jail. So I want you to consider that when you're listening to these so-called experts who really aren't experts, okay? We live in this village. She doesn't. I've said enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Anyone else with public comment? Looking for a hand? Anyone here? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approving the minutes of April 14th, 2020. I need a motion?
Second.
And a second. All right, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you, Susan. Moving on to manager's report. Here comes the manager.
I don't have much to say other than cleanup directive, which was completed.
Mike's not on. Welcome.
You hear me now? The cleanup directive deadline that we've been working on for the last month and a half was completed today. I'd like to thank all the department heads and staff who have met the letter of the law and in most cases greatly exceeded it. The facilities, if you ever have a chance to look at them, you're going to see vast changes that reflect a lot of effort, a lot of organization, and I like to thank everyone for doing that. The daily briefs, they seem to be working. You've seen the pattern change from time to time. That's because it reflects your comments. You ask for something different, you get something different. Please keep giving me your input. I've also noticed that people are now using it as reference documents. So we'll go back and say on 6.2, you said this, and it's enabling us to do our work a little bit more efficiently. The board members, thank you. A lot of you have gone above and beyond working with me, spending hours with me, and I appreciate all your efforts. And that's really all my update. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
All right then. Agenda item number 1 is.
Deb, I have a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
No, I'm just curious if those daily updates are going to be posted, because with all the board members CC'd on them, they're public documents.
Susan, whatever you like, we can post them. We have them all summarized so you can get a singular document and we can put them wherever you'd want.
I mean, they should be on the website for the people to see, the rest of the citizens of town.
Why should we do that, Susan?
Well, because we're all CC'd, and I think they're public documents.
They're public documents if someone does a public records request, but to simply have to, just to make more material on the website, I don't see the point. Anyone else have anything concerning that, I guess?
Be interesting, let the public know what's going on.
Well, we've never done that detailed information to the public. Clearly, we've never done that to the boards. So
I appreciate Susan's comment. I think it's a moving target. And if we move in that direction, the value of that is you all know the minute I know. And that's been the expectation I've tried to build with you all, that things happen. We have to address those problems in real time, and you're pretty much aware of it in real time. If that's something that we want to distill and present to the public, either in an email list or online, I welcome that. Anything that increases transparency is an improvement.
I feel if we're going to limit these daily updates to be posted as public information, then every email you send a board regarding any other matter could then also be termed a public document that someone will say, well, why wasn't this posted to the website?
Good point.
I agree with Gaetano and Deb.
Gary has a comment.
I'm sorry, Gary?
Yeah, I think that Susan's comment was just that if board members replied, then it would be required, but since no one's replying,
It's not,
it's a moot point. Yeah.
that's true. Not discussion. It's not a meeting, that's for certain. I guess, Susan, I guess I would recommend you bring it up at your next week's meeting as well. So if you want further discussion on that matter.
All right. I mean, I just, there's a lot of information in there, and the manager reports tend to refer to this document that none of the public are getting. So I think that confuses things.
As I recall, the previous manager used to do write-ups for us at the beginning of every meeting, and those weren't necessarily available to every member of the public. When we posted packets, yes, but when we didn't post packets, no.
And in a summer schedule, one manager's report wouldn't have nearly any of these daily report information.
If we're good at this point, let us move on to the agenda item. First is Development Department, Gary Fox, the Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance quarterly report update.
Yeah, so the economy of the town is made up of a few different organizations. The Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance is our designated downtown organization. And Mary Helen Hawthorne has been executive director for 7 years. And today is the last day of her 7-year service. And thank you, Mary Helen, and for your last quarterly update.
I want to thank the boards, as always, for putting us in the budget. And we've been a designated downtown for 20 years. It's now membership time in our organization, and because of the COVID-19 virus problems, we did not do a usual membership drive as we have in the past, but I'm happy to say that in our limited membership drive, many people did respond, and that's been very helpful because financial stability has been a concern for the past few years for this organization. We're currently down 3 board members, so if anyone is interested, please contact BIFTA. We need members and welcome your input and support. And along with that, of course, volunteers are always welcomed as well. We were very involved in the VCRD community visit, and we have chosen to be working on the Building Revitalization Committee going forward. We continue to work closely with the Chamber of Commerce to promote the Bellows Falls area, and we have strong relationships with BDCC and SVEP. Our Shop Local program, with just accounting for completed cards alone, this year we could account for $361,000 being spent locally in our area. We had 56 businesses participating, and we had our usual prize drawing in January. Our businesses were promoted on radio, our Facebook page, and on our new and improved website. Updates in downtown, our gym has closed, and they were great and donated a lot of their circuit equipment to the senior center. Village Printers has closed. Applegate Martial Arts has closed, but they have become a new entity called Everyday Creative Project, and they're in that same space just by the stairway. Marsha Austin is now the owner of Halliday's Flowers. The last few months we spent pushing information and assistance and resources to all of our downtown and area businesses regarding COVID-19 response. Our businesses are beginning to reopen with state guidelines and in phases. Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust received a grant for $608,000 for the Bellows Falls Garage project, and we're able to receive that because of Bellows Falls and Rockingham being a designated downtown, so they received grant preference for that, but that will make a huge difference in their funding package as they move forward. Streetscape, we still need trash receptacles, some bike bollards, and places to dispose of cigarette butts. That's still a problem. And if I find it hard to blame people for throwing their butts on the street because they have no place to put them, but those are things that really would make a difference in our streetscape in downtown. The Rockingham Roasters building is pretty much getting ready to possibly open, but is looking great and looks wonderful at the head of the square. As Gary remarked earlier, this is my last joint board meeting and my last official day of work. I have been at the helm for 7 years, and I am a believer that BIFTA is in a much better place than it was when I came here. That probably sounds self-serving, but I know it to be true. So I've enjoyed working with all of you and wish you success in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Can
Mary
I,
Helen.
can I say something?
One second. Yeah, I just want to let you know, Mary Helen, that there's been so many times over the years, especially when we had some difficulties between development directors, that you helped the community get things done, and I very much appreciated that. Have you picked somebody to be a successor?
We haven't yet. Hopefully they will announce it this week, because I will hang over a few more days this week just to help with a little transition, but so far we do not have a successor named.
Yes, on behalf of the BIFTA board, I'd like to thank Mary Helen for her service. And we do have a couple of applicants that we will be interviewing this week. And happy retirement, Mary Helen.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mary Helen. On the trash, on the receptacles and the butts, I just would remind the board they approved a grant application for receptacles, both recycling, trash, nicer looking ones, and cigarette butts. And we were awarded that grant, and this summer we'll be placing those in the downtown. And the other organization vital to the economy, the supply side, the public facing side of businesses and merchants, is the Great Falls Regional Chamber of Commerce. And Deb Collier, Executive Director, is here for the quarterly update.
Thank you, Gary. Well, first, I just want to thank Mary Helen for all her guidance in working with the chamber and making the BIFTA chamber a cohesive pair, I think. So that was very well appreciated. And I just wanted to recap on 2019, what the chamber did, because there's, of course, not a lot to discuss in 2020 at this point. But we welcomed over 4,800 visitors at the Waypoint Center in 2019. There was approximately 377 visitor information packets were mailed or emailed to potential visitors of the area. We received approximately 319 phone calls or email requests for local phone numbers, local names, addresses, business information, or tourist attractions of any kind. Or even if a certain relative of the person on the line is buried in a local cemetery. I didn't have that information for them. The most requested places of interest are the petroglyphs and the Great Falls. I notarized approximately 133 requests for documents requiring a notary and the country of origin chamber a stamp. The chamber hosted 9 well-attended and entertaining mixers. Sorry, my cat's gonna help me here. And gonna knock over my camera. And we offered 6 workshops through the chambers. I attended 8 conferences, and the chamber hosted 6 major community building events, including Rockingham Old Home Days, the Person of the Year Award, our annual dinner and meeting, the chowder and chili cook-off, the holiday mixer and silent auction, and our first ever Southern Vermont Flannel Festival, which was very popular and very well attended, with over 1,500 people attending our very first year, most in their flannel attire. Heading into 2020, we expected to grow our chamber in every aspect, as we had reduced expenses, increased memberships, expanded our offerings, increased visibility at events and on social media, and ended the year in the black. Then COVID-19 changed the world. From there, when the majority of the businesses in our area shut down, I started attending the webinars and online presentations, compiling information to discover and distribute the available resources to our community members and not just to chamber members. Writing advocacy letters to our state representatives, attended online meetings with our congressional delegates, and I regularly posted and updated the status of area businesses. On April 1st, Gary Fox, no joke, that wasn't a joke, he was on April 1st, spearheading the Rockingham helpers, moved into the Waypoint Center as the drop-off location for food donations and toiletries, cat food, dog food. It was very busy, very active event. And I attempted to help the volunteers that would come to the Waypoint Center during the day. Likewise, worked with Mary Helen on supporting the local businesses, updating everyone on the resources that are available, and I won't duplicate efforts and say which businesses are closing and have opened, since Mary Helen was so thorough and already did all that. But we're looking forward to hopefully rebuilding in the chamber in 2020, probably going to 2021. Likewise, we are looking, it was hard to send out membership requests or to renew membership when so many businesses were closed or in financial difficulty. So we're looking for any donations if you'd like to make it to the chamber, or if you'd like to renew your membership, that would be very appreciated. We have gotten word that although the state welcome centers are not going to open in Vermont this year, that local welcome centers like the Waypoint can open. We have not opened to the public at this point, but we are considering what our options are. And if we do open, or when we do open, we would be following the CDC protocols. I just wanted to add that all through the mandated closures and the stay-at-home orders, every day at the Waypoint Center, I would see tourists of some nature, especially when I saw their license plates, come to the Waypoint Center and they would look at the kiosks out on the deck there, patio area. So it was always well attended or well visited. So I thank you for your time and support.
Thank you, Deb. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Collier? Doesn't look like it. All right, Gary.
One of the task forces, we had that community visit with the Vermont Council on Rural Development and chose 3 task forces. One of them, Sustainable Rockingham, saw as their mission addressing some of the mitigation of some of the hardships based on the COVID-19 pandemic. And that group, Lynn Haas, one of the movers and shakers of the Rockingham, of the Sustainable Rockingham, is here to report on Rockingham Help and Helpers activities. Lynn?
Muted.
Oh. Lynn, your microphone's on?
Lynn, your microphone is, oh, there we go.
Yes. Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
So I've been a long-term resident of Rockingham, but I have not participated very much. My work has taken me outside of the village and the town. So this has been quite a treat for me to be able to immerse myself at this particular time in the community and getting to know people here. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. I've had one role in Rockingham Help and Helpers, but I have several of my colleagues here, and I would like to introduce them. Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Sherbaum. I know many of you here. I'm a resident of Bellows Falls, and I'm also the coordinator, one of the coordinators for Greater Falls Connections, which primarily works around reducing substance misuse among youth and supporting connected families and communities. So we've been on board with Rockingham Help and Helpers from the beginning, and really happy to support the infrastructure and helping get this group organized.
Leslie Goldman.
Hi, I'm Leslie Goldman. I'm retired family nurse practitioner and worked as a nurse practitioner in town for 25 years before I went to Keene. Many of us got together right after the COVID shutdown order came and said, what can we do to help our citizens? And that's how Rockingham Help and Helpers started. And it's really been an incredible experience to work with this group, to put this project together, but also to be able to help our community get through this moment. So it's been an honor and a privilege to work with this group. Thank you.
Sam Maskell has also been key to our group.
Hi, I'm Sam Maskell. I'm the Youth Services Librarian at the Rockingham Free Public Library, and I've also been, on behalf of the library, part of this group since the beginning. You know, our libraries, we respond to our community's needs, and when the world shut down and this group formed, we saw this as something that we should jump in, we can help, we can support. So I provided tech support, informational, organizational, promotional, whatever skills I have, they have been made available to this group so that we can help meet the community's needs.
And she's been really important to the group. The other member of our group that's in the room right now is Gary, who's been pretty essential as well to our group. There are also a couple of volunteers in the midst of us, so I hope they might have some comments to make as well. I want to just start by saying we've learned a lot. We've made mistakes, and we fixed them, or we think we did, and we know, yeah, we've learned a lot. That's what I can say about this. We want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given us as a town and as a village. The kind of support that you gave right off the bat was critical. Having the Waypoint Center and the refrigerator unit was just fantastic. Having Gary's help was essential. Having Tyler's help was wonderful. So thank you for your part in all of this. We also want to say that we recognize that we're in transition now. The calls for food deliveries or supply deliveries, it's not just food, supply deliveries are way down, but we recognize that the needs are going to change and we are not going away. We're prepared to continue to be ready to respond to whatever the needs are. We're continuing to call people on our needs list, but we're imagining that that group might change over time as different needs kind of surface. We wrote a pretty significant report, which I hope you have all read. So I'm not prepared to repeat a lot of what's in there. We are hoping that there might be some questions and or comments as the, yes. My colleagues, do you want, Leslie or Laura or Sam, do you want to add anything, or Gary?
I think the thing that I might add, this is Leslie Goldman, is what Lynn said was that we're prepared to continue, but we also now have the infrastructure should there be another challenge to the community. It could be a hurricane. We all lived through Irene. So we now can come together and pretty quickly activate helping people in our community should other kinds of disasters occur as well.
Do you have any urgent needs? I'm sorry, this is Jeff Dunbar. I'm just wondering if there's any urgent needs that you foresee.
Well, we're actually exploring our concerns right now about helping families with children during the summer. We're investigating supporting a babysitting training program to give parents and kids respite. I mean, that's one of the things that's on the horizon that we've identified as a need. We're also concerned about the businesses. As you've heard reports already, businesses are in trouble. Is there any way that we can support them in some way? We have just met with, so over these months, we have had different organizations join us in our work, or we've joined them. It's both. So we have a Friday morning huddle that includes other community organizations. We've just had a very interesting meeting with Senior Solutions, and we're looking at how our a wonderful group of volunteers might be able to support the ongoing needs of our seniors in the community. So those are some of the things, but no, nothing has jumped out as acute. Nothing has been as acute as our responses to the delivery of supplies was, Jeff.
Thank you.
I would just like to express my thanks for the work that you folks have done. I think it's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you. Who was that spoke?
Jim McAuliffe.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Yes.
I have a question. Wade Mashur, village trustee. The formation of this group totally as a result of the presence of COVID, or was it something that was kind of in the pipeline prior to that?
Well, I'm here as a member of Sustainable Rockingham, which is a part of the whole survey and conversations that happened over the winter in coming up with a plan for different kind of development actions in the community. So that was one vehicle, I think, that helped to get it going. But yes, this group was formed very rapidly in response to COVID. But Leslie, do you want to respond to that differently?
Well, no, I think I can just add to it. The stay-at-home order was on March 13th. And what happened on March 16th was several of us contacted Wendy and said, we want to help. We know that there's going to be a lot of stress in our community, and we want to have systems set up so that we can help. So at the time, the town manager, Wendy Harrison, put together a group which included Gary and Sustainable Rockingham, Lynn and Laura from Greater Falls Connections and other community members like myself. And within like 2 weeks, we had a whole system designed for food deliveries, and the waypoint was set up. It was pretty amazing at how the community came together very fast to know that we needed to have something available to people who could not go out. We were really worried about vulnerable people, immunosuppressed people, people with chronic illness who were at great risk, and we wanted to protect them. And we were able to set that up very fast. But we had over, I think in the report, like 150 volunteers. People really wanted to step forward to help our vulnerable people, and it was a wonderful thing to see.
Thank you.
I would just want to say that one of the things that we've learned over this time is that we had some of the ongoing organizations that are in the town already to support people. We had some of them on board, like Greater Falls Connection, but we had to work harder to make the connections with others who were already doing the work. Our place has been doing a whole lot of work about food distribution all of this time. So it was, and Parks Place has been reaching out to parents to provide things like diapers, which ended up being a surprising need for people. So a part of our challenge was offering something that was compatible and built on the work that was already going on. We wanted to support the organizations that were already doing the work and not distract from what they were doing. And I have to say that was challenging at times. I mean, we had to do some work to make that happen. But now we have great relationships with, I think, everybody. Some of them, our place we worked with right from the beginning, but Sevka came on board maybe 4 weeks ago because they were flat out with doing other things. As I say, Senior Solutions just joined us recently. Who's the group that we're working with the preschool kids?
Building Bright Futures.
Building Bright Futures. So, and Greater Falls Connection was essential to provide, has provided us with support through the whole thing, both just in terms of having Zoom access was fantastic. So I don't know if I probably said more than you wanted to know, but
I would like to add one thing, because I think your presentation was excellent, is that I think what we're coming out with is a cadre of volunteers who are now going to be spread to our local nonprofits like Our Place. And that was something that was really appreciated by them because we were able to intersect and work together. And I think we'll come through with it stronger.
Great. Thank you, all of you. Thank you very much.
I would just say the one thing, the answer to that question, what can we do to support our businesses, which is the next piece of recovery, is shop local, talk up what we have here for our merchants and businesses, eat local, shop local, and we'll be getting to that next.
Thank you very much for your interest and again for your support.
Gary.
Thank you.
Gary.
Yes, can I help you?
Yeah, this is Jim Mitchell. You have a list of all businesses that serve food outside of the realm. Like the only place I know in downtown Bellows Falls that has a deck is Buffalo's, and they're not open. But what other businesses are serving outside of their establishment?
Yes, we'll get to that in the next agenda item. One of the slides has all of those.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, Rockingham Help and Helpers, in addition to all the organizations and their volunteers, there were 162 additional people in the community that came forward to make phone calls, donate stuff, deliver, meet with people. It's just incredible, really strong community.
So we have that segues us into the next item on the agenda, which is the outdoor business interim zoning bylaw. Introduced, they're gonna get it.
Hi.
Is that gonna be a problem?
Well, if anyone in the audience needs a copy, we have additional copies. Let's present it, Gary.
Let's go.
There is. Okay.
Because everyone here can look at something hard drive if they can see it, right?
Where are additional?
There's a copy right here.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Okay, so,
It's not complete, so we're gonna discuss it, and I'm sure that's why you're here, and we'll have more ideas and discussion.
So basically with the COVID-19 stay-at-home order and business closures and the physical distancing required, the impact on our food businesses in Rockingham. You can see here 17% of them closed. This is current, 17% doing curbside business. 17% were closed for some period of time. 17% have been open and been able to remain open, like the grocery stores. 12% have been doing deliveries all along. And you can folks see the list there? Is that large enough for?
I'm just wondering why it didn't wind up in our packet, so we could have actually, get a closer look at it, especially since it is kind of small. It is.
But I think that's
the
just
list.
background, right?
It's background
Yes.
and the list of businesses.
Yeah.
You say food business though, this is not just restaurants, this is anyone selling food,
Yes,
retail,
this is,
or?
yes, this is
Okay.
not just restaurants, this is food, period. And so this happened in every single town and city around Vermont, and the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, who's been working on COVID economic recovery in general, and VTrans, put out a plan for all of the communities in Vermont to have outdoor dining, to make things that normally cannot happen using the right of ways, whether it's highways that have had federal investment, and normally there's a process to go through, you have to pay them for it. Federal highway waived those rules. And Wyndham Regional Commission put out some guidance for how the towns in their area could put this into action. And so basic, simple, the pandemic created economic stress for businesses. What we can do, we can have changes, which are what you were presented in your packets, the interim bylaw. This is an example of what the interim bylaw can do, and it's it shows Wunderbar and Moondog, how we can make use of the sidewalks and make use of the parking spaces to divert the pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks. Does anyone have any questions on any of those aspects?
Is there more, or are we open for discussion on this now?
Well, so there's the interim bylaw itself.
Mhm.
And I guess we should just walk through that.
So I would use the last slide for an example. So
Previous slide.
the owners would apply and diagram what they wish. So in that example, they're out in, what's going to separate the traffic from the folks dining?
Yeah, so part of developing this process, the Bellows Falls Fire Department, Police Chief and Highway Department looked at these photographs and talked about how to make it safe and for separating traffic. There's barriers that are brightly colored. They don't look horrible like a construction zone. Sean found a great product, but to be painted on by artists.
At this point, that's to be determined. I mean, when do we expect to try to move forward with a set of guidelines? And then I would have more questions like, if the Legion wants to do, so there's 1, 2, and the Legion would be 3 places that possibly serve food, and we have the Legion parking lot, which seems a lot safer to me to remove dining from traffic. At what point might you consider, that area? You'd lose the parking places, but if, I'm not sure what barricades you're talking about, but as a resident select board emergency services, if somebody nodded out, let's say driving their car and goes into that thing, it would be catastrophic. So although it's a great idea,
Mr. Chairman, I've been on the road here, whether it be St. Albans, Newark, or Canaan, or other places, or in Brattleboro, and what I've seen is Jersey barricades. I know there's an expense with that, but
These are like that, and
No,
I would invite Sean to speak to that.
I get that. I was,
Expert on this.
wondering different options if we've looked at the Legion parking lot, or perhaps the other side of the Legion, Donovan's parking lot, perhaps. There's not a car in that place.
So 2 things. One, this is an example. There's no permit applications yet, but we do know that these proprietors are interested in doing something. Each case will be different. The zoning bylaw has a broad language in it that allows it to be reviewed by police, fire, highway, and ensure that it's safe, by the zoning administrator to make sure it complies with all of the other zoning guidelines. And in terms of specific for restaurants, it does have to be, the guidelines do require the public gathering space to be adjacent to the business. So, it's critical for, if you think about one of the reasons for doing this, a restaurant cannot have enough people in it to even pay for the cost of opening for indoor dining. This allows them to have enough business for that. But in order to serve them and make the dining experience work, servers have to be able to access the tables and get to the kitchen and be able to turn tables and get orders in.
I completely understand that part, and adjacent to me would be that parking lot. It seems like where the mural parking spaces, that's 2 businesses connected. On the other side would be the Legion, all the way to the diner in the Real Scoop parking lot. So where would we limit there? Or how can we just protect it so it's safe? The diner could consider serving outside breakfasts if they have the space.
So this zoning bylaw is to apply to any business in the districts listed in the bylaw. And for each business, most of them don't have an American Legion parking lot there. So each business is free to put in the application that makes sense for them. So Moondog and Wonder Bar could put in an application to use the American Legion lot, and the zoning administrator would determine if it meets the parameters in the zoning bylaw, and It's in Bellows Falls, so the Bellows Falls Fire Chief would determine safety, the police chief would determine the traffic issues, and highway would look at any signage and protective measures.
Great.
So what happens next?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions too from Zoom when Deb and Gaetano are ready to open it up.
Not quite. I think we have a couple more questions from the board members.
I realize that the village doesn't have a lot of input except for expressing, I have to say, I've expressed concern about putting people in the street. That's a narrow piece of the street. I thought, my understanding of this was that these were going to be sidewalk only.
Well, the tables, I think, are on the sidewalk, but the pedestrian walk.
Are in the street,
The walk
which is,
Hmm.
and I understand there's some variance because of COVID-19, but it's still, that's a narrow piece of road. You've got cars parked on the opposite side of the
Yeah,
road.
you're putting pedestrians in
In the street.
traffic.
Yeah.
People are going to park where they can park.
Right.
Park down up there, they can park in the green.
Well, so what's next? Did we get the answer to that? Because we're focusing on this one example, and I think every business will have a different circumstance, yet I've suggested putting these places in the parking lot next door, and then you said, well, all businesses don't have that. So every business will have a unique situation, but where are we as far as what's next? I guess?
So next is to have comments for the public. One of the purposes of doing this at a joint board meeting is so trustees can comment, business owners can comment, the public can. I believe there's a lot of.
If you want to, I'll answer that question.
27 participants on Zoom. So next.
People have been killed.
Next is comments from the public, and then after that is the select board, I believe, approves or disapproves of the interim zoning.
Yeah, the other thing I just observed as I came down here, I had 2 semis come off the bridge that I know we've had discussions with, weren't going to be coming through the square. They weren't making deliveries and you weren't picking up.
We had an issue with we were responding to a call and a semi was in our way and didn't see or hear us, but that's separate.
So in general, there are the police chief recommended large signs at either end of the wings of the downtown district. So by where Walgreens and China Garden is and by where TD Garden is, indicating that there will be public businesses, pedestrians in the street to take care when coming into town.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's all well and dandy. We need to do what we can do to help these people out. But again, I'm concerned when he mentions, if a vehicle strays or dozes off or whatever they may do. I mean, we get the zoning, we get the cell phone regulations and laws, and you know what? You can go here and watch cars go by and they're all on their cell phones.
That's why these versions of Jersey barriers are being expected to place between the traffic and the pedestrian sidewalk.
I haven't seen them, and I would support Jersey barriers like Battleboro's doing to get folks to have something to get through this difficult time for their businesses. I think they're ugly. So if there's a more, and ugly or not, if it supports that, but I'm not sure what the other ones look like. All I'm concerned about, a big part of me is concerned about the safety aspect of this whole idea. And if you just go there and then in front of Wyndham Antiques, you can park again. I mean, I would kind of block the whole thing off if I were, I'm not sure. That's all I have for now.
Wade had something. You want to ask a question?
Two quick questions. The barriers and the safety control plan or whatever, is that based on guidelines from the state?
It is, and we also looked at a couple of like Hanover was an example given as someone that does it really well. And if you look at the road there, they have tables that are right in the road, and there's the barriers, and people are seated there having a good time. People pull up right next to park at the barriers, just like in the diagram. Traffic is driving by, and people are fine with it. And these
These barriers are also same as Jersey barriers. I think they're 400 pounds for every 5 feet. They're pretty dense and would provide adequate protection.
They're full of water.
Yes.
And my follow-up question is, do you know what these other municipalities have in place for transferring the liability if something was to happen?
I don't, but there is an indemnification clause for the town in the permit, in the bylaw. It's written right into the bylaw that the owners agree to hold the town harmless and that they're liable for activities in their area of business.
Any other board members have comments? Peter?
I was asked to give some ideas on this thing, and they've got them. Chuck and Gary have. But one of my concerns was who's going to buy these barriers? Is the town going to buy them? And what do we do with them after we get them? I suggested in one of my ideas that if we're going to put Jersey barriers, I know the concrete ones look a little tacky, but if the town has some, we could, rent them. Well, we're doing it at the YMCA, but we're not renting them anymore. Not getting anything, but I mean, to me, why would the town want to buy them if we can't use them?
My thoughts were, if we're gonna make an investment, Jersey barriers are really brilliant, and that's what I've seen in other communities. And then I think there was one that was, I think it was St. Albans, where they have, you put it this way, you can paint them, you can dress them up, you can make them look good. Then after this is done and over, hopefully, we could use them somewhere else if we've got to make an investment to purchase them.
So the proposal for the budget for being able to implement this, the development office has the potential, not the potential, the development office is authorized for a fund upon municipal manager approval that does not come from the taxpayers. It's a development fund that the Revolving Loan Fund Commission approved $10,000 per year, and the select board authorized that. So that $10,000 budget for the year just ending, we've recommended having that dedicated to these barriers, signage, lane separators between the tables and the sidewalk area, entrance and exit signs, and any of the associated pieces of equipment that would be needed.
I think it'd be nice to have a cost comparison between the aesthetically appeasing ones that you're talking about and the regular Jersey barricade. I mean,
they're about half the price.
I know Jersey barricade.
Actually, a third. I think it came out to 6,000 versus 2,000 somewhere.
Safer. I mean, we're going to have, there's going to be alcohol establishments that are open. I hate to see somebody get hurt or killed.
Well, I believe
Correct.
this was going to come, there's a lot of comments, and I see there's like 20-something comments on the chat, probably questions. I'm assuming that all of the information or questions and recommendations will be put all together and given to the select board next week. You guys will see it again, since they're still in the process of developing it.
Well,
Can I say something?
these comments on the chat can be looked at and responded to now.
Yeah, can they maybe hold off? Because we can't read them. If
Can't read 'em.
if they could just, in one moment, we'll give them a chance to there's 22. I just saw one pop up that seemed like another great question, but we can't see them. So give us 1 minute and we'll be happy to respond.
I can read you them off and you can answer them one at a time if that is.
Just a minute.
Hold on a second. Guy Town wants to speak first, but then, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
No, I just wanted to say that because I saw them keep popping up and they're great questions. And then I wanted to let Deb finish about the select board seeing this. And then I just had one more question at the end.
Well, I simply want to say there's a lot of questions here. I don't know that we can get them all answered and or recording the information, so they will be incorporated if needed in that. Does the select board want to go through all of these chat lines and answer all these questions now? This is for something for you guys to do. Or do you want to see them all sent to you so you could respond that way?
Yeah, I'd like that, but I mean, I feel we should offer the public a chance to
I know.
respond,
If
but
some people want to speak, they could certainly do that.
Madam President.
so it
Madam
Hold on, please.
President.
Hold on a moment, please.
1 minute. And then, so if it's coming in to us on the 7th to possibly make a decision,
It could come back on the.
because it seems like this, or we can make a decision today, except we don't have enough. There's not a concrete,
Not finalized, yeah.
So the.
because it's about liability in my seat here.
Yes.
I love the idea.
We prove something and something bad goes wrong.
I love the idea. of
We
the
truly
outside.
support businesses and we want to make it happen. We just have to come up with a good plan.
Did you have anything else?
Yeah. I love the idea of the outside dining. I took advantage of it when I was down in Brattleboro and when I was up in St. Albans. And my question is, are the barricades that you're talking about that may be more aesthetically appealing, will they stop a car?
So two things. One, I would say yes, or the chief wouldn't have selected them. But the other thing is that this bylaw that we're asking you to approve is in zoning language, and the application itself would describe Jersey barrier, these other type of barriers.
And
what we're deciding on is not whether it's Jersey barriers or fences. We're deciding on the bylaw, and then each application would say what's correct for that application. Is it a Jersey barrier? Is it this other barrier?
Okay.
And the police, fire, highway, and zoning administrator would all weigh in on it, and the development office on the community and economic development capacity of the.
So each case would be processed accordingly and
Yes, what we're asking tonight does not decide
Okay.
between Jersey barrier or otherwise, simply the bylaw.
Okay, so Shannon, if you could start reading us, I'm actually, no, I guess not. Is there anyone in the public on Zoom who'd like to speak,
Well,
ask the question directly?
They have been writing these and asked if a town rep would just be going through them. So I think they did it in order. Is that okay?
That sounds fine, but is there any public comment on these? On
Yes.
this item? You get a minute apiece. All
Madam
right,
President.
Mr. Mitchell, get it off your chest.
Yeah. You don't need to go to all these extremes to do this. Anybody that's been to the downtown crossing in Boston knows that they shut the downtown crossing down at a certain time, delivering trucks and logs. What you could do would be very simply to allow traffic to come as far as the old Sovereignty building and take a left onto Canal Street, loop on to Waypoint Center, up and around that way. The other area, you would put a chain link fence, not once, right on chain across the square, right by the entrance in, across the square there. You limit all of that downtown area.
That's not an option, Jim.
Street pedestrian.
That's not an option at this point. You would be punishing the other businesses. We have to keep the square open for traffic and.
No, you don't, Gaetano. I have traveled
Mr.
all
Mitchell,
over
we're
the
having a
world.
debate.
I'm telling you.
We understand what you're asking. I'm sure that's been considered and it is still going to be considered, I'm sure, by some. But thank you. You have had your moment. Always appreciated, but we're not going to have a debate. Is there anyone else in the public who'd like to have a minute to speak on this item? Around. I don't see anyone else. So we're back at moving it forward. With all these comments will most likely be off, I'm assuming will be responded to by someone, a representative from the municipality of Rockingham to deal with questions that have been asked and of course ideas as well. There's some ideas on here too. Anything else from the select board on this item?
Gary, I'll ask you, are you gonna include any additional ideas in this amendment going forward? So when the motion gets made that if we make one tonight, that it's with the amendments that may come into this? Well, the ideas I sent in, you both sent me information that they were being considered. I don't know if the motion's going to be made tonight to adopt this bylaw, do we want to include anything that may be additional? In other words, the document in front of us is not a final document.
Well, I guess that would be the reason for going through the comments. But potentially, the document is good to go as is. And
Can anybody read them?
Well,
I mean, I think what he's saying is we'd like to move so that perhaps, I mean, there could be businesses that want to get the process started if we wait another.
Month, yeah.
So as long as, if there's anything additional and each case is reviewed by public safety, zoning, that's what you're telling us is going to happen, then I feel ready to move on the, and I think that's his question. If you're going to add anything,
Mr. Chairman,
put that in the motion. Yes, sir.
there's been a lot of discussion here on eating, dining out and all that too. But again, like you said earlier, there's other businesses here. One of our, that count on traffic, whether it be the hardware store, the movie theater.
Antique.
And so we can't be taking up every space with outside dining.
Or all the parking spaces, either.
Or all the parking spaces. There's commerce that's got to go on other than dinner, lunch, and breakfast hours.
Okay, does the select board wish to?
Wait, I'm sorry, Devin Gaetano, the public is voicing that they would really like just some of these chats to be discussed publicly and live, have their voices heard.
Okay,
So,
we take a couple of them and read them out loud, please.
so is this open to not just restaurants, but retail shops as well?
No, I don't believe
It's
so.
outside dining, correct?
Gary?
We're not, this is for outside dining,
Only, isn't it?
specific.
it can be for any outdoor business.
Any outdoor business.
Why would it? Okay.
Any outdoor business. Put in an application under the same thing.
That's rain.
Will this opportunity be available for Canal Street as well, as that is quiet compared to other routes in the village?
Yes, in fact, Canal Street Gallery has already indicated an interest. And so just for information of the board, we did go out to all of the businesses and the markets through our organization and talk to them about it and get input and feedback on it. And there were businesses in addition to food businesses that we would like to make use of. And those businesses were hurt just as much, like, okay,
Just-
well, maybe not as much as the restaurant.
The answer is yes.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
How about one more?
Well,
about
just a couple of more. They'll be quick. So Brady Weinstock lives in the village. She's concerned about the diagram and the pedestrians that have to walk up and down the ramp to follow the sidewalk. It seems like a population with elderly and disabled enjoy walking around the village, and this might stop that.
So,
Mike. So the language in the bylaw specifically says that any pedestrian activity will comply with ADA requirements. So it's not so much that there's a ramp there, but that if there's a place where there's a curb, just like the ends of sidewalks where they gradually come down, any place where there's a curb, that will be adapted so that it meets ADA requirements, so that it is pedestrian friendly for elderly, wheelchairs, or any other ambulatory devices.
Great. Have you considered tenting the parking lot adjacent to Moondog and having the restaurants share the space?
Yes, we discussed that.
That would be up to the businesses. If that's how they wanted to do it, that's what they would put in their application. That would be fine. That would be a good application. Might not be best for the business, but it would be reviewed by this, according to this bylaw, yes.
Okay, two more questions. Could the application include businesses describing how they will serve alcohol responsibly following Division of Liquor Control guidelines if they are liquor licensee?
The liquor licensing is a separate separate piece. That doesn't go along with this. They would need to go through that.
Outdoor alcohol consumption.
Yes.
And what is considered an outdoor business?
So any business in town has a permit that describes what their hours of operation are, what they're going to do there, the parameters of the business. And so most of them don't write in them that they're going to, whether it's selling a T-shirt or selling a meal, most of them don't generally have the outdoor business written into their plan. It's not part of their site plan. So this allows them to have operating authority outdoors and to expand their business permit to have outdoor site setup, outdoor site review.
Okay. Looks like we've
Thank
covered.
you so much. That's all we have.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. So again, I just want to put, my only comment is be cautious. This is not like Burlington or Lebanon, New Hampshire, or any community that might be doing it that you've mentioned prior. We are a narrow community. We were built a long time ago and our streets are small, and we have some very congested areas that can have a real problem here. What does your board want to do? No time. You want to move it tonight? You want to wait till next week?
Entertain a motion, or we could bring it up in a week.
It'd be nice to have a cost comparison and actually, will the other barriers stop a car?
The barrier isn't there.
But
That's not part of the
Bylaw.
Part of the bylaw, right?
So we don't have that information, which I think. leads to-
Gaetano?
Yes.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it would be fine to move, because each of the move on this, because we're voting on the bylaws, not on what individual businesses are going to do to set up the possibility to. And I think this weekend done the better. We're going into the 4th of July weekend. And
Make a motion.
wait any longer, July's going to be over. So I make the motion that we approve the, are these final, by the way, the ones we got, or they changed?
That's Peter's question. I would leave it to be amended in the motion. All right.
The ones that were handed out to the board tonight, yes. So I guess as amended, as presented.
Who's going to make the motion?
I can make the motion, so you can make it.
Let's get somebody make it.
All right, I move that the Rockingham Select Board adopt the interim Rockingham zoning bylaws dated June 30th, 2020 to go into effect July 1st, 2020. Reference the presentation here tonight as stated in the document.
As amended.
As amended.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt zoning bylaws with amendments. Any more discussion?
The only thing I want to say is I would put on the agenda next week that we discuss the possibility of possibly closing the square for certain times. Just as a discussion, I would like to have feedback from businesses about would that be positive or very negative for their businesses. That's all.
You want to put discussion on the agenda to get feedback from the public, or do you want to get the public to attend?
I would like to hear from businesses and the public about the possibility. Other towns are closing parts of their streets. And this is just for our agenda for next week, just to put that out there. That doesn't have anything to do with this bylaw right now.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the input. You know, things happen fast and in unusual circumstances.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and next week. All right, moving on the agenda, we have two pieces of ratification for the select board. One is ratification of the Hyde Hill drainage motion.
Need a motion, entertain a motion, ratify Hyde Hill.
Chairman, I move that we ratify the vote taken at the last select board meeting in the positive that the Hyde Hill drainage moves forward.
Second. Motion been made and seconded, ratify the Hyde Hill drainage motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right, now ratification of the Hyde Hill engineering motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we ratify the vote taken at the last select board meeting in regard to the Hyde Hill engineer motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, ratify Hyde Hill engineering motion from the last select board meeting. All those in favor would signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Moving on the agenda, we're on to the Main Street Arts, and I believe Mr. Stearns is here to address that issue.
Unmute. Hi. Thank you very much. I'm David Stern. I am here to ask the select board to consider allowing Main Street Arts to keep the set and lights that are currently backstage in the Opera House in place until such time as it damages Opera House and town programming, or we perform the show. We have a lot of people here, so I'll let them introduce themselves if they would like to speak at some point.
David?
Yes.
Well, we don't, at this point, we don't need to hear from everyone else. I think if you had any more information you wanted to present as to when you might possibly run the show, and then perhaps there'll be some questions here. We have Opera House Director here. So before we get to everyone that just popped up, if you have any more information.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, to be honest with you, I have sort of a case to make, but maybe that's not necessary. I was approached and told that the town would like us to remove all those materials. And I was unclear as to exactly why that was important, because the Opera House had been showing movies for quite some time, even when the set was up before COVID-19. And it is our hope. Main Street Arts is going to go dormant for a time, but we are not gone. And everybody that would be available to help dismantle those materials will be actually more available. We have a couple of people that are important that are either immunocompromised or who have family that are immunocompromised, who are a little worried about coming in en masse and disassembling that material. But, you know, when we would do the show, that's a tricky one. Anthony Fauci says he's looking at a vaccine at the beginning of the year. That's his hope. At that point, I would say we would like to perform. I do not think the public would want, nor would I propose that we try and fill the Opera House with viewers in the near future. I understand that people are trying to do distanced viewership in movie houses. That's something we could consider, but I think it's so dangerous for our performers, the nature of performance and being backstage and the intimacy of the performance, that really we would have to say, for us, we just couldn't do it. So my hope is that the Opera House and the town will support what has been a very, I hope, invigorating presence in the town of Rockingham of Main Street Arts, and help us get toward our possible reboot, which the production of Cabaret would be a great shot in the arm for.
So at the earliest, you're talking 2021, all things considered with the information we have today.
If I had to make my best guess, I would say yes.
That's what Broadway's canceled till January 30th, 41, right? I mean, nobody is planning any live performance Broadway style shows in the near future, this year at all. The Washington Post article was 41 theaters, not January 3rd at the earliest. So I have a couple questions. I don't know if any board members have some questions, but my questions would be, how long would it take to take it down? We are planning to, I think, because the theater for us is a revenue source, and with things moving forward, I think the plan is to soon begin, I don't know what the term is, maximum occupancy at restricted lanes and seats to start viewing movies upstairs, which would sell concessions and generate revenue for the also struggling theater right now. I'm sorry? So leading into that, I believe it's that if you've been to the village meeting, there's the rows are sectioned off, which limits the seats now, and the light towers and the lights on the balcony would impede, not so much the lights on the balcony, the light towers impede the viewing for future movie possible presentations. So if you could just answer, I'll call on you, ma'am, whoever keeps speaking, if you have a comment as soon as I'm done. How long would it take to, if you're not going to perform until possibly January, it kind of makes sense to me that the material should be removed.
Okay, I'm hoping that your pause means it's okay for me to speak. Couple of things. The light, we can certainly remove or move any lights that obstruct the screen at all. Although it's fair to say that many movies have been shown with everything that's in place now in place. And with reduced occupancy, well, I'm fine removing all of that, you know, getting the lights out of the way. If we remove what has been, I don't know, 1,000 hours or so of construction and painting and lighting and rigging and so on, we will not perform the show. It's not like we will take it all out and bring it back. And I would respectfully submit that materials backstage pose no impediment to movie viewing at all. So I'm confused as to why you would want it removed. I would also say that typically we strike the whole thing in a day. Meaning strike is a theatrical term for remove all the materials. That would not be quite possible now because typically we bring 35 people in and we do it in a blitzkrieg fashion with multiple trucks and no COVID protocol. But, you know, my pledge to you and to Rick and to the town is that with very little advance notice, if you need it out, we get it out. And I believe we've been good on our word for many years without a single instance to the contrary.
Are there any other board members on the select board who have comments about this issue?
I'm just wondering, other than the lights, what's the concern with the
Is there any other select board members?
Well,
I was gonna basically ask the same thing. If the lights are the only analysis of Rick, are the lights the only thing that might be reducing sight line? And the issue I think is that you have limited ability to how many people you can put in there and keep social distancing when they choose a seat in the movie. So we want to have as much capacity in the seats as possible. But I don't see the stuff behind the curtain being a problem. But if the lights are reducing the amount of people who can come into the theater and safely distance from each other, If they can be easily removed, I think that, but leave what's behind the stage, the set that's been built.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I watched on PBS. There was some talk yesterday or last evening of the PBS NewsHour about some of this wearing masks for maybe 2 years and stuff. And they were talking like they call it the welder's mask, the full plastic enclosure. But my priority here, sitting on this board, is the revenue that this theater generates for the town of Rockingham and the opportunity it provides for entertainment for not only people from this community, but from other communities that come here to watch a show, a movie. And I just don't want to see this where, in my opinion, for one, it's not a storage facility, all right? But if it looks like it may go beyond January, we don't know. They're talking about the resurgence of this because of people failing to, whether it be maintain social distancing or the mask or whatever. But I mean, I think we can go way beyond January 3rd, the trend that seems to be popping up. Just look at Texas. They're basically shutting down Texas as far as the restaurants and bars. So my priority is what the best for the movie theater.
Thank you. You guys have any? Yes, sir.
Dave, this all came about when the press release, I guess, came out about the financial situation with MSA and closing up for a while and an indefinite period to return. I think that's when we started discussing that at the board level. And as Stefan just mentioned, we don't think this is a storage facility for anyone, not just you, but anybody else. And the town manager here is trying to clean out stuff that's been stored in here for ages and making a dent in it. And I think that the fact that they can still show movies is fine, but if there's other venues that may be available, even in a limited showing, such as a musical venue or some sort, they may need to use the portion behind the screen where your equipment's set up. And I have to defer to Rick over here in that manner, because I don't know what he has planned down the thing, but I do agree with you on the fact that, yes, you can show the movies with your set down, set in back of the thing. So I guess we'd have to defer to Rick and see what he has planned coming up for, if he's got some other venues that even at a limited capacity, we can get people in there to get into a revenue stream going again.
One more.
Pretty much everyone touched on everything I was going to say.
Ben, Rick, you have something else?
I did want to say that I have been in conversation with a local promoter who is very much interested in at least one Thursday a month bringing musical acts in. As we know from the past, musical act needs the stage.
Thank you, Rick.
I have a couple more
Yeah, I see there's people in the audience. We'll also
comments.
See if the trustees, if you have comments.
I have one more, yeah.
Yes.
So I also, if we look at other theaters that would enter an agreement like this at that rate, and I remember the confusion last year when the school kids came to the dress rehearsal and concessions were set up and brought in employees and whipped up a batch of popcorn, and then they couldn't sell any because of my understanding is Main Street Arts email to the schools. So it's a theater. We're dealing with a water leak right now. Water is rushing down the side of this beautiful building that some staff have gotten up to deal with. The fire department's on the way to deal with. That'll cost us money. It costs a lot of money to run and maintain this building. So it'll be a year worth of time for no additional revenue for this expensive fund here. That's it, I guess. But it's not a giant, I see your Popolo something or other, but but this is a town item. We all appreciate the local restaurants that benefit from your shows, but we're talking a year of time in a building here. We have to figure out what to do.
Did you have something else?
Well, the only thing is Stephens is watching the news. There's other venues that, especially for live productions like yours, that are in the same situation. Because of the situation, they're really strapping for money. They can't afford to run shows, and so they've backed out of everything. So, it's kind of a tough decision. I mean, I'm not against any of the stuff that MSA does, but I think going forward also that I think in this period of transition until we figure out what you're doing, it might behoove the board and your staff to get together and figure out some arrangements here so we can go forward from this.
All right, if it's okay.
We're done. Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
Village Trustee, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman.
One moment.
Mr. Mitchell, hold on. It's okay.
I'd just like to add that I'm a big fan of MSA and their productions, and I think that I would urge the select board and the board of MSA to work closely together to hopefully come up with a plan that doesn't hurt our revenue flow or your revenue flow, but also gives the time necessary for MSA to put on a production that's safe. So, thank you.
Jeff, do you have
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mitchell, hold on. I'm talking to the trustees. I'll get to you in a moment.
I would just, I guess I don't see the need to move forward with dismantling the stage set, given that there's not an immediate revenue stream right behind the removal. So if there would be a way to work together to make an alternative situation work, if there's musicians that want to play, a situation that would allow that to also happen.
I was just going to ask if Rick could just kind of restate what you said about Thursdays.
There's a local music promoter who I've talked with in the past 6 months who is very much interested in one Thursday a month bringing a live act in to perform in the theater.
Like sooner than later.
Obviously, I mean, it depends upon the acts themselves and whether we feel we're ready to go.
So they're just waiting to hear from you.
Right. There's nothing. I'm sorry, Wade. There's nothing that's been booked at the moment. It's just conversation.
As a trustee and as a taxpayer, my concern is 6 months or more of liability on equipment that does not belong to the municipality of Rockingham. 6 months or more of storage space, and that is a concern of being able to find creative ways for the theater to maximize its ability to get back into business and to stop losing money, which is what's happening to everyone. And we have to be as creative as we can, and the town has to with the Opera House, all the money that's been put into it over the years. If they can find out ways to get people back in there, then they should. And if they need that space, they need that space. I believe there's a couple of audience members who want to speak. I did see Mr. Breyer's hand's been up for quite a while. So Mr. Breyer.
Hi, just a couple of things. Back in the day, I did economic studies, and I look at what MSA brings to the community of Rockingham. It has generated over $1.5 million worth of economic activity in the region over the years. And what you were talking about effectively is a vote to end MSA permanently. That's the reality, and I don't want to be dramatic about it, but that's what we're talking about. You asked me to speak, so I'd like to. The set, to rebuild that set would be easily several $1,000s, which we do not have. I'm actually not on the board anymore, but I've been part of MSA for many years. So I know what it costs to build these things. And what you're talking about is a cost to that organization that effectively ends it. And I don't want to be dramatic, but that's really what you're talking about. On the other hand, What does it cost you to have stuff behind the stage? It costs you nothing. If you are interested in taking down the lighting, that's not a big issue. Something we can probably work something out. But in terms of anything behind the stage, when and if you have an act, then I think you have an argument to say we are costing you something. Right now, we're costing you nothing. So doing this on the basis of maybe a promoter, maybe bringing in shows in a theater that you can't bring shows in, doesn't strike me as a particularly compelling economic argument. When you get to that stage, by all means, have this conversation, and I'd be happy to have it. Now, I realize you're looking at your watch, but the reality is, for now, is not costing you anything. If you wish to revisit this when that cost becomes an actual thing, bless your heart, I'd be happy to talk to you about it and be happy to organize people to see what we can do. But for now, why destroy an organization that's been an important, not only cultural, but economic engine for the region for no particular purpose except that some impatience? I ask you to hold off on this kind of decision, at least for now. And if you do have shows that want to come in, let's bring it back up and see what we can do. That's all I ask.
Let's see, Mr. Kessler.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Gavi Kessler. I'm one of the co-chairs of Main Street Arts with Anissa Hartman, who's also here. I just want to give some assurances about the dormancy, which seems to be what led people to think that we might not be around. We're actually going into dormancy in order to stick around. So what we're doing is we're just saying that we're not going to be putting on shows, and we've actually, unfortunately, had to lay off our staff who have worked really hard for us. We're doing that so that we can hold on to our money that we have and our savings so that we can move forward and continue to be an organization. There is still a board, we're still meeting regularly, and there is still an active community who are available to take down the set. And I just want to ask again, just to say that we're being we're willing to be extremely flexible. We'd love to work with the select board or with Rick, and if we are able to get emails answered and have that conversation, we would love to continue having it. Also, it's a gorgeous set, and I think a lot of other acts might want to actually have it there while they perform. There's a lot of stage room available. I think a band could easily set up and have a great set behind it. So you could show them a picture and say, would you be willing to perform with this backdrop, or would you like us to take it down? And if you'd like us to take it down, as David said, we will get a team together and get it out there. So thank you for listening to us today. We have appreciated all of the support of the select board and the town and the theater. It's been an incredible space for us. And we hope that what we've brought to the town has been incredible for you all. And we want to at least have one more big show for you when COVID is done, whenever that is. So thank you for listening, and we hope that you'll consider what we're asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. Tom.
Sure. So I just want to respond. That was completely different than the gentleman before. You've just stated you're willing to work together. You would be able to take it down. The previous statement was he would blame me. I was the one looking at my watch for the termination of that organization. So it's two different stories being told.
Well, I think
back to back.
What I think Jack was alluding to is that, yes, if we have to take it down, then we will not be able to do this production of Cabaret, and it will have a serious impact on our revenue, and we might have to close at that point. We'll be happy to do it. If you tell us that we have to take it down, we will come in and take it down because you're having other shows. But it will have serious ramifications and possibly lead to the end of our organization. We hope that doesn't happen. We hope that we can keep it there and that we're able to perform the show in the future, and that it'll be the kind of revenue for us and for you that we've brought in the past.
There was one more person who wanted to speak. They can have a minute and then we'll move on.
Yes,
Who was
Mitchell.
that? All right, of course.
Mitchell, I'm in favor of the Museum of Fine Arts.
And Heidi afterward, please, Deb.
And Heidi afterwards?
She's
All
had
right,
her hand
you.
up the whole time. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Am I allowed to speak or not?
Yes, go ahead and finish your minute, please.
Yeah. I'm in favor of keeping Main Street Arts right where they are. We have no music venue scheduled for that place. They have brought in millions of dollars. This is a community that builds itself on art. We're cutting off our nose to spite our face. If you need to look any further, just look at the reason why our town hall roof is leaking right now and the fire department's there. It just goes to show the stupidity that has reigned in this town for years. Save MSA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
James.
Heidi.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Heidi Laura Sella. I'm a resident of the town of Rockingham. I'm also on the board of Main Street Arts. I want to say my entire family are massive, avid, frequent movie theater goers. We have always seen a movie with no problem of MSA being there. So that argument needs to just be set aside. I also wanted to make sure it was said, it's in the chat box, someone was concerned about the liability. Main Street Arts has taken out and continues to hold a $1 million liability policy to cover these materials. So again, you don't have to worry. And what is so wonderful is that we, the town of Rockingham, and us people of the town of Rockingham are involved in Main Street Arts, are able to put on a show as soon as the pandemic ends. It's ready to go. And what a wonderful celebration the second we can get together. We are lucky. The town is lucky, the village is lucky to have Main Street Arts, and we're lucky that they're ready to be a part of our opening up. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe Peter had another comment before we could perhaps move on.
Just for my own curiosity, there's an alternative venue in Saxon River known as the Horowitz Center. You used to put on your shows there. I'm just curious why you're not putting your shows on over there anymore.
Who has an answer for that? Mr. Stern? Mr. Kemp? So.
I will. First of all, we had a show slated for July in Horowitz. It's not that we don't ever use it. We thought, and I guess I still hold, that it is a great advantage, and that's one of the things that the Popolo letter addressed, what the productions do for merchants, whether, especially food establishments inside town. But we've had testimonial letters from a number of merchants testifying to what it's done. And it's great for, we spent about $30,000 on the last show that we did, and we ended up grossing about $90,000. That is not something that happened for us.
You just answer the question.
It's a very different thing in a very specific space.
So what he's saying is that we do use Horowitz. It's not appropriate for all shows. The Opera House is a larger stage and a larger theater in the middle of a vibrant town. So for our big musical, we love using the Opera House. It's been a great space for us. And we do use Horowitz when it's appropriate.
I guess the flip side of that question that I want to ask is, do you want us to use the Opera House?
I think I'm interested in future use of the Opera House at a fair. My understanding is Rick is paid to run that Opera House. And it's important that he gets treated the same way that all the staff at MSA get treated. You pay the full price that you would pay if you went to rent the Paramount, whatever their rate is, or the Colonial. And we cut deals, and we're going to be stuck. I don't know. It's like the threats in the chat and the comments are kind of leaning me differently than how I felt about 20 minutes ago. Of course, I support. I go to all your shows. I want to know that it's the same treatment that you would get if you rented in Brattleboro or Keene, which my understanding is they won't rent to you or didn't, and that Rick is. It's important that this is for a purpose, and he's paid to do his job. And moving forward, we have that agreed. What I want to do, because this is a joint board meeting, this is a town discussion. We've used up a lot of time. If possible, without taking any action tonight, perhaps invite you all to our select board meeting next Tuesday, where it would be a town, the select board meeting where we could continue to the discussion and determine what we want to do with a plan here. And in reference to, you know, Heidi's comment about it'd be great to open up in January with a ready, we don't know if that's going to happen, but in the reality, so many things could change by then. More folks will continue to lose their jobs who may not be able to attend these productions. It could be the last. We don't know what's going to happen in January. So the reality is, I think like Peter said, we were caught off guard when we read his announcement that you're closing, and we don't see any Broadway style productions in the near future.
And so I
I'm
believe
trying
it's
to
on
move it along, Gigs. I just addressed it. We'll need to continue this at our next meeting.
next meeting.
If that would work for you, that's what I'm gonna put our additions to our agenda next week, because I think there's a lot more discussion that needs to happen.
All right.
We would be happy to come back. We would have.
Thank you.
We'll move this on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Next is finance. Shannon Berbila, a tax sale update.
So this is a real high level for the tax sale and for the financials. So for the tax sale, we are waiting to see what happens in the response to the COVID pandemic before we move forward. I think, as you all know, at this time, we cannot do evictions and or ask people to leave their homes, things of that nature. We also have an extremely low delinquent tax rate at the moment. So we will be keeping our eye on that and also waiting to see what the governor's orders are. As far as financials are concerned, we are still where we thought we'd be. And I will be meeting with Deb and Gaetano to have a brief end of the year final financial review and then bring it to each of the boards at their next board meetings.
Does anyone have any comments on the two items that Shannon just mentioned? I would simply like to say that I don't believe COVID has anything to do with tax sales, since you can't move anybody out anyway for a year and a day after a sale's been completed. And we've been asking, I believe the select board at least has been asking for, in the vicinity of 2 years, to get a tax sale together. There are a number of properties that are just languishing with taxes sitting on, despite the fact how low they are. That's money we could utilize if we got back into our tax. Gaetano.
I might have missed it, but I think the last update we got with previous management was Shannon was taking the classes, the certification to do it in-house to save us some money. And I'm not sure where she's at. And so it's not 2 years we've been waiting. We've asked these questions, but then this new plan was to try to do it in-house.
She took the tax class in December of last year. That means another 6 months has gone by since then. That's why I'm saying getting close to 2 years. Peter.
I saw in the paper a couple of weeks ago, Springfield's moving forward with their tax sales. They're not waiting for the 19. And, you know, in our reality, when we had the lawyers doing it, we were very close with what we spent compared to what we recouped out of that. The only loss we had was town purchased properties. That's where we lost the money. We didn't lose it on having the tax bill, have to pay an attorney to do the thing, and that's why they got moved along quickly. So I don't know. I'm kind of switching between on having it in-house versus referring it to an attorney. Springfield's gone to an attorney. They're doing it that way, and rather than in-house. So that's all. Just a comment.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with doing it in-house or out-house for that matter. I just want it to be done. I think we should move forward. And I think it's been at least 2 years since the last tax sale. I don't know what it is, but you know, there are certain properties that are difficult, and to, you know, you just give this these people more time to waste. So I want to move it forward.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. So what I'll do is we'll outsource it and have an attorney do it.
No, other than, you know, been
How many
waiting
was there?
almost 2 years.
I don't know how many properties we're talking about. Do you have a property number of idea, Shannon, how many properties we're talking about here?
There's approximately 15.
Between both?
Yes.
Yeah, probably some of them that have never sold.
Great, thank you.
And Susan, did you have anything before we move along? She clicked out.
Yeah.
She gone, okay.
She gone.
Oh, no, she's down
Lower
there.
left, lower right.
There she is.
Oh, sorry, I'm all set for now.
Okay, thanks. You just jumped from page to page on
I want to
this.
make sure you pay attention.
Yeah. All right, number six on the agenda is for us to adopt the personnel rules. This has been going on for some months. It has had enough of revisions, and we've seen it a few times since it's been completed. Although I think it's still, formatting is still a problem, but that's take care. This, discussion on this, I've read it till I'm.
Yeah, will both boards be required to have motion?
Yeah.
All right. On behalf of the trustees, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised personnel rules.
Okay. Any discussion among trustees on personnel rules?
I worked very closely with Shannon and Wendy on these. There's really not huge changes. There's been, a lot of updating to make things current and things like that. I would be happy to discuss any change for any board member, both select board or trustees. But I think the document has made some improvements, and we did get sign off from the employees on this. So I think we ought to move it forward.
I just have a quick question, Jigs. I'm just curious, prior to now, when was the last time they were updated?
2012.
I was 20
years ago?
First time I was on board.
Okay, I was just curious how long it's been.
And how long did the process take, Jakes? Update him.
Well,
They spent a long time.
Well, no, it's been less than a year.
Well, they did a lot of work, I should.
We started in January, start to finish. We didn't even start the process until January with board.
Was it January when we had that first meeting? Yeah.
It's complete overall. It's,
Yep.
They did a lot of work. I ended up at one meeting for some reason.
They did.
Great.
And the last time it took a year to get in 2012, 2011 to 2012.
So thank everyone for their work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All time for them. You have anything
You guys had a
else?
motion?
Yes, it's a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
So seeing there's a motion on the floor, all those, motion in mind, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those, no.
Well,
All right, on
you
this
voted
one,
no.
you know what? And there's a number of issues that I don't agree with in there. So, and I thought I've read it, no, ad nauseam. Did that thing, Dr. so many times. It's on to the select board side.
Everyone's had a chance to read the latest updated version, and any questions, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the personnel rules as presented.
Motion been made and seconded. Any more discussion, questions?
I have to agree with what Jig said. It's a lot of work was done on it and accepted by employees, so there's no reason.
Yes, I second that again, and I agree and thank everyone for their work. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Wait, Susan didn't speak.
Aye from Susan.
There you go. Thanks.
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right. Okay, last item on the agenda is adopt the manager search process and set budget for the search. You all received documents from, I believe, everyone gets to look at their emails, documents from Shannon on the process, the amount of time, so on and so forth. Then we have questions, comments.
Did everyone receive the last email with the recommended timeline?
12 to 4, that's the time today.
Do you guys want me just to kind of
Highlight
highlight?
it. That's great. Yeah, do that, Jim.
Okay, so 1 second, I'm just gonna pull it up.
Yeah. That's,
We have it here, Shannon, if you got it. You got it?
So I do. So what I would recommend personally is that we give Chuck another 3 months to make some necessary changes. We've had a lot of changes, a lot of turnover in the last little bit, and give him another 3 months before we start posting. That's just personal preference. And then I'd like to advertise VLCT, the website, Indeed, and careers.gov. Careers.gov would be the only ad that would cost us any money. It would be $199. That would run for 30 days. What my recommendations would be, I gave you guys job descriptions and job ads. So you guys would review them and submit them back to me, and I would make all of the edits and go over those with the village president and chairman of the select board. That process would be 2 weeks. So once I got all of the reviews from all the board members, and then we'd let ads run for 30 days. I'd conduct interviews, and I would make my recommendations to the boards within another 30 days with all of the resumes, but with my top 5 candidates. And so start to finish, from the time we post the ads until the time we make an offer, 90 to 120 days. What I'd like to talk about tonight is salary range. If this timeline looks right, and if not, what would you guys propose? If you'd like to advertise in additional places or increase the advertising budget above the $200, or eliminate it and find other free sites. And when do you want to start the process? So for instance, if I received all of the board's comments within the next 7 days, and I reviewed it with Deb and Gaetano in the 7 days after that, you know, we could be looking at a 90 to 120 day time frame from today. Or do we want to wait and then start? So those are all just decisions the board kind of have to make.
I don't believe anyone here wants to wait on the starting process. Am I correct?
I'm not in a rush.
I know you're not.
Just to rephrase, well,
But 90
Shannon
to
had said,
120 days is up to 6 months.
but there's reason. 3 months to continue, making
that'll probably
necessary
happen anyway.
changes to have the municipality running in a more efficient and effective manner.
Right, but they'll continue while this doesn't stop while the process continues.
That's what I was confused about.
I agree with that statement, Deb. I totally disagree with waiting another 3-4 months.
Yeah, I don't see the point.
We need to start now.
Use that time.
While we're doing the search, Chuck can still do his thing and get stuff organized. So when we hire somebody, hopefully, we're ready. The guy can just step right in, or whoever was hired, they can step right in and go forward.
And of course, that's still an if, because if we don't get the proper applicants, we're going to wind up finding that we can't find someone that doesn't work. So that's why she gave us the 90 to 120 days without waiting. So within a week to 2 weeks, we'll have an address.
We skipped you want to do the first one?
The first part was about the money salary range. Yep. The current application, the current ad that was out, the last one 2 years ago, says 80 to 90. So was that the same range?
I've always agreed with Stefan on this, that listing a number is, who would come in and say, sure, I'll take the 80 when you're saying you're.
Yeah, that's true. I get that, but at the same time, you don't have a range.
Just say salary negotiable.
Have
Don't put a
that.
number. Right. That way you can start where you want and then where you. Sometimes it does bait the hook a little bit if you put a number out there.
That's true, but on the other hand, you could wind up with an applicant who seems perfect, and as soon as you offer them something, they're gonna go, get out of here. what do you do?
Yeah.
I've had
Well, then
comments.
you would negotiate with them if they're the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
But I also think that when you get to the point of that point where you're going to consider something, boards have to make decisions, a limit on how you want to go.
And they should also be able to provide us with the dollars and cents that they've already received in previous jobs, that would give us an indication of where they want to
Can you
be.
legally ask that, Shannon? Can you ask them that?
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that?
Can you ask candidates what they were paid at their last job?
We can ask them
I know
whatever
I do.
we can ask them whatever we like. We could try though to start in all of our postings just to say that salary is competitive and based on experience and education.
See, my problem here
Somebody's laughing.
has been we've advertised between here and here. And you know, we've started up here and we advertise it between here and here. What I like to see us do is we start here. And if they're as good as they say they are or we think they are, then we'll work about going up. But we don't advertise between here and here and start here.
Oh, of course not.
And that's what's happened over the years.
It has. They come in and they expect the top.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a problem with changing it to, salary competitive based on experience. I don't know if you want to say competitive because I've heard lots of bitching about that. Sorry, excuse my French.
Well, what's the consensus? I think that the way you term it, you could say, competitive salary for the qualified candidate or however you word it, but just not listing a number. I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Sounds like we're all in that area. Yeah. What about Susan? I haven't heard from her. Susan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, anyone who applies is going to look at our town budget and see what we put in that budget line.
There you go. Yeah.
To get an idea.
Okay, that's great. That makes sense.
I do think having a salary range in there in the ad is appropriate, but I would probably do maybe 75 to 90, just to give a little more room on the downside.
Well, I mean,
but I think if we want to be realistic about getting the kind of a candidate that we would hope to get, I think we should put some numbers out.
Well, then the only number we could put is up to the amount of money we budgeted.
No, you don't have to do that.
Well, that's realistic. I'm not gonna put a number higher than that.
Well,
If we got 45 on one side and 45 on another, whatever it is, I don't know the exact figure. That combined number is it plus benefits. That's the max we can pay. We aren't going to guarantee up to that amount.
Well, I think the name of the game, our job is to fill this position with the best candidate we can, and so I personally would put a range in.
You're the only one who's actually saying that.
Okay.
So it looks like it's going to be about a number at this point to see if what we get. If we don't get enough candidates, we might have to run it for another 30 days, and then we can, change the ad. Does that make sense, Shannon?
It does. I can also, depending on how many applicants we get, I can touch base with Deb and Gaetano 15 days through the process. If we're not getting good results, we can go in and edit those ads where they're posted.
That sounds good. That works. And by then we'll have both had board meetings so we can during the month so we can think about that and pick a number that we can use.
Any applicant that's worth his salt or her salt, the first question they'd say is, what's the salary rate? I'm telling you, this is not a time to be subtle. I can't believe that I'm the only one that thinks
that appears that way, but I mean, if that's the most important,
well, I mean,
that's the most important question someone would ask in an interview. I don't know if you're looking at the right candidate.
They're going to ask that before they even think about an interview.
Okay. They're going to go look at our budget. They'll know
I
how
have
much.
to say my ad did not post the salary range when I applied.
Yeah.
It said based on experience and education.
I'm also worried, Deb, and others that if you post the salary range, you're going to scare people off who think it might be too low.
Right, there's that too.
So I think that's a problem.
So bait the hook with bread.
Yeah. I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
I see, part of me says that I agree with Jegs, and that could save you a lot of headache and time for eliminating people from applying right from the get-go because they've decided on that figure and it's not going to work for them for whatever
But
reason.
again, as Shannon just said, they should do their homework and
I know,
look
I
at
know.
what our municipality pays. You know, and go from there. Before they actually jump in the water. We'll try. We'll get this a try. Let's see. She wants to know if the timeline looks right. Have you folks looked at that? We went over that.
Kind of discussed that. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So it looks like we're there with that. What was next? If we
I'm
wanna do
sorry.
addition-
I'm sorry, Deb. Can I just confirm? So
confirm the timeline.
So
that will-
by
Yes,
July 15th, we'll
add
have
out by
ads
the
posted.
15th,
Okay,
right?
and then we'll follow the timeline.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
If we want to do additional advertising,
Deb,
yes,
just-
Susan.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, I thought you skipped over that already. But yeah,
Oh, no.
with the last time we also sent it to the association, I forget what the abbreviation is, but the Association of the
ICMA.
International Association of
ICMA.
ICMA. Yes.
ICMA.
ICMA. ICMA.
And that
ICMA.
that did cost us.
Yeah. Shannon, find out how much that costs.
Okay.
What we get from there? Candidates from halfway across the country.
Yeah, we do. Get a
Not
few around the
necessarily.
state.
Yeah, we did that the last time. We had people from Texas, Michigan, with it, whatever. Guy from Air Force One and the girl from.
But at least find out how much it is, so we can know that before next week's meeting when the select board has their meeting. See how much that is.
Okay.
And that's do you remember, Susan, if that was expensive? Probably was.
I don't remember. Sorry. No.
Okay.
It's just job description.
It's a job description that we previously had from 2 years ago. So we're going to be reviewing those materials and sending them back to you, Shannon. Yes, that's correct. So we'll send comments back to Shannon.
Within these.
It looks like it's about anywhere from, depending on what you want to do, $100 to $600. You know,
$100 to $600.
yeah. So entry to mid-level is 100. If you're looking at senior management, department heads, it's 300. For a manager, it's looking like it'd be about $600.
Okay, so it's about so what, for 30 days?
Yes.
For 30 days of advertising. Is that something the boards want to do? $600. That's, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot less than if we advertise in local paper for a month.
And what is this?
This is the international
City
You'll
managers.
get candidates from
for manager.
Illinois and.
I would recommend advertising on if you want to pay for additional ads, to put it in the shopper and to advertise on Facebook and pay, which all of that together would be less than $250 before I did like an ICMA.
We want to do local advertising. That's another way. I mean, you're going to do VLCT, that's free. Website's free. Indeed's free. And we can get local candidates from there without paying for it.
I think managers are going to be looking at the professional organizations first.
Yeah, so then we do that as well. But I'm simply saying, as far as locals concerned, instead of paying for the shopper and so on and so forth, with these websites, I get applicants off of Indeed. I get applicants off of my Facebook page. I pay for Indeed a small amount, and I pay for Craigslist, and those are the things I pay for. But, a lot of free advertising, get a lot of local people from Indeed. I think we'll still want it.
May I suggest that we see what we get in the first 15 days, and then we consider something such as $600 for an ad, depending on what we have for results?
What do you want to do in all
That $600 would be split, right?
Yes, 300,
Yes.
and the 199 for careers would be 100, like that. That puts our budget together somewhere in the range of about $800.
Total.
that's a lot less expensive than when
Right.
we use VLCT.
I would,
However,
my feeling is to do
We
all
will be
that.
coming to some parts which vetting will be.
Shall we set it as not to exceed $1,000?
Yeah, let's they have a motion. Why don't you guys move it and then we'll move it.
So 500 from us?
Yeah, that works. So need a motion on your side?
So you need a motion, I make a motion that the advertisement does not exceed $1,000.
So the select board authorizes. We need all that in there? Or sorry. What do we need?
Which we split. I mean, we're still gonna split it even if we say 1,000.
Motion been made and seconded to not exceed $500 on manager's search spending. Advertising. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, Village. Oh, thank you, Sue. Need a motion.
Make a motion that the budget for our managerial search, the village/town not to exceed $1,000
For advertising.
for advertising.
Is
Yes,
it,
Second.
I'm sorry, that's 1,000 altogether, right?
It's 1,000. It's no. They said 1,000. We're saying 1,000. It's 1,000.
said 500.
1,000. Did you say 500?
Our motion was for
No, he said 1,000 for both boards. So it was 1,000 for both boards. If you amend your motion.
The motion was 500.
It was for 1,000. I heard you.
No, Peter's motion was for 1,000. Is that what it said? He said 1,000. Yep. And you just said the same thing.
1,000.
But the intention is that between the both of us, between both boards, we only spend $1,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
You got that, Jan?
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't moved it yet. So wait, did you have something? Or Jeff?
You seconded it.
Okay, second. Okay. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Okay. here you
So
go.
back to, so that this is going to include the ICMA?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to clarify that.
Definitely.
Well, this is from April 16, 2018. but
Yes, it's
and
the
we're
old
doing
one.
it in-house. We're not gonna have the ad.
No,
It's
of
a
course,
VLCT,
that's all,
it's gonna
we've
come
got to
here.
change all that. Yeah,
It's all
no.
gonna come here.
It's gonna come to Shannon, Human Resources instead of VLCT. That's correct. Anything further? You all set? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we have that unanimously. So that's it on that. Next item was when to start the process. I believe we already said we want to move right away. So we're going to get you back comments on the application. Excuse me, on the
By Tuesday of next week.
by Tuesday of next week. Okay, so requirements and the ad, both of those things by Tuesday of next week. Everyone gets that. Yes, Peter.
I'd just like to make a few comments here. I don't know if anybody's read this.
Started that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, look, it's
Go
from
over to
Icky.
page 6. Very last paragraph. I think this board needs to decide a very short list of criteria. What we're looking for, or both boards can decide on. We don't need to use the statute of responsibility until you get down to your final candidate. And you can imagine this board needs, both boards need to decide what they want to see in the manager and move forward from there. We can't decide on what we both want. We're never going to get anywhere. We're going to be right back here in a year and a half, 2 years, doing the same thing we're doing now. And that's exactly what is stated in that last paragraph.
What page?
Which paragraph are you talking about?
Page 6.
First column or last column?
Page 6, key elements of recruitment framework. Major decision point development. You go right down the bottom of the page.
Okay.
It says, unless the governing body can come to a consensus on this criteria,
Oh, yeah.
it may be difficult to find the right candidate, and on and on.
Mhm.
So there's where the problems lie, I think. We can't agree who we're looking for. You can put anything out there for responsibility. You're never going to find the right guy. And I
Or
think
gal.
what you need is a very short list, maybe 5 criteria to look at. I've already sent mine into Shannon. No primary reason to how I did it. I just, stuff I thought about. And that way, it's a very short list, 5, pick up 5 criteria, they can send them on the mission, find somebody that matches those criteria that we've all agreed on. We all want to see these particular, not in any particular order, but this is what we want to see.
They can find somebody that matches that, and we can go and dig further. I also agree with Jiggs in your comments in the last meeting about having a public person, somebody from the public. Even if it means if we get together with Shannon and Chuck, say, for a member from the select board, a member from the trustees, a member from the public, and those two, hash it out, figure out, see what the public wants to see too. That way they can't say they're being neglected.
Well, we did that the last time.
Yeah.
See what we got.
You said, your comment was you neglected, you refused to, you didn't even pay any attention what the public wanted. That was your comment.
No,
So if-
no, it wasn't my comment. Wait, where was that?
That right there, you said it.
We had a lot of public.
But anyway,
people
I'm
on
not
the
gonna
board.
argue that. We're gonna get into debate.
No, I don't want to get into that, but for all 9 of us
Yeah.
to check, to find one person that we all agree would be the perfect citizen to be on the board, that's not on the committee, that's not necessarily going to happen. Harder than finding a manager.
No, I don't think that's what we mean. I don't think that's what we mean. I think we're working, I'm working on the police search, okay? And, we're at the stage where we're hopefully getting applications and
Tomorrow's the last day, isn't it?
so I'm now collating. Today was the deadline for members of the committee to submit questions. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to come up with questions, okay, for our next meeting. And the other thing that I'm going to present at the next meeting is the 5 or 6 criteria
Thank you.
on which the members of the committee will rank each applicant. And it includes things like leadership, vision, working with people. But the key is to have 5 or 6 criteria where each member of the committee, rather than saying, I like Joe or I like Mary, this requires people to rank them on these characteristics. And we didn't do that the last management search.
No, I think we did some kind of grading system. I remember that was done, but not on a bunch of criteria.
We didn't do it like that.
Yeah, no.
We didn't do it like that. And I think that
The board didn't listen to the committee either.
That's true.
well, that's still up for debate.
Okay.
Doing it the right way. Well, set out a set of criteria you want to see in a person. And then everybody has to somehow come to agreement. You're not going to find the person that's going to fit every stinking thing you put on that criteria. But you get the best you can and try and get everybody on agreement. That's what we want to see. You can't have somebody saying, I want a finance person, the hell with what he can do. He doesn't know anything. I want a person that can handle management, doesn't know anything about finance. We've been through that.
Yeah. So let us move. Let us have learned from our mistakes and move forward in this new process. Hopefully we have. Okay. And we'll
You know,
all
the
do the
other
same.
weird thing is, go back to another page 4, I think it is. It says in-house method recruitment. It's kind of interesting paragraph to read that.
Is that for 8?
Yep. There's a lot of
Because it
information.
does mention exactly what you brought up, Debbie, in your other comment
Yeah.
the last meeting, was that the governing board should see all the applicants, not the final,
Not just the final one.
not the final ones that they're designated, because I've never seen an in-place I go to work for employees.
Yeah.
pick their boss.
And I asked Shannon to rank them, but still give them on.
I agree. That's.
I mean, I go along with the in-house concept, but to have the employees narrow the field down for the governing board who's going to do the hiring.
Yeah.
I think is off base.
Yeah, you don't need.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
you don't need to give the keys to the fox or the hen house. So I think we've done well. Get your stuff into Shannon by Tuesday, so you can move forward on the ad and get that going.
Yes, I think they can do a good job of shilling out the real outsiders. And never, I mean, if they have 30 applicants, 15 of them are out in left field. Yeah.
Right.
We don't need to look at those, but they think when it gets down to the last 15, maybe we should be looking at all.
Look at all, yeah.
But we may see something in there that they're overlooking.
Right.
And I think that's where we need.
Yes, Gaetano, before we move on, yes.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
So we advertise a lot more places and spent a lot more money the last time, and we received 21, of which 8 were qualified. So these numbers of 15 and 10 and 30, I think we have to be realistic here. And, you know, we can't keep comparing to what we've done, and no one would ever agree on the same qualities of a manager. It's pretty simple in the job description, what you're looking for. And
might refine it a little bit.
Finding that person is going to be the tough part. So I'm not expecting 30 applications and
This time.
15 qualified candidates, perhaps, with what we're searching for here.
Okay, so it looks like we covered that. And we'll move forward. Reviewing, I'm sorry, did someone say something? Was that you, Shannon? No.
Deb, I have something, just quick, a question for Shannon. Is it possible, as the applications come in, to go to an email address that we can all access remotely and with a security code? And that way you don't have to deal with paper, because some people might be very sensitive also about this data going out, about applying for a job.
No, that's a great idea. So what I'll do is I'll have an email address opened, and all of us will have access to it.
All right.
Good idea, Sue.
That's good. Thank you. We also agree not to do anything with that. That's confidential.
It is confidential, but it's important that everyone
We
understands
maintain that. Right. While we're in the process of
Every
setting a
meeting is
contract.
confidential. Every interview,
Yes.
the candidates' names, all of it. Everyone's aware of that. Once we
That's
start
all
this
confidential
process,
information.
all of it.
Review agenda items for the next joint board meeting, which I think is not until, I don't think we need to do that. It's not until, is it August, September? Not until September anyway. I'm sure stuff will come up in the meantime. Review, and that should have been there. Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants, because we did have to sign all of these.
Move to approve. Seconded. Yep.
Do we have to do those separate? I guess so. So go ahead and move yours.
I was just on any of this.
What?
Select board,
Because we haven't seen them enough.
motion been made and seconded to approve warrants. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, trustees, we need a motion.
Aye.
Did you see them, Sue? You get a chance to see them all?
That's right, she didn't. She's not here.
I saw the ones that were sent by email.
Okay.
Were there more?
There's a lot.
There is some from April on.
Wow.
I move to approve orders and warrants.
Okay, a second.
I'll second that.
All right. For the discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I would like to see these at least once a month now, so we don't have to do this again. They get behind
That's
that.
all the first time we've all met together.
That's true, but even independently, these haven't been at each board meeting for village and select board in a while. And on top of that, they've stacked up. Yeah.
Staff had been working.
Staff's been
from
really
home,
good.
so
Yeah, so that does make a problem.
moving forward.
All right. Excuse me?
All right.
Okay.
Hoorah.
Other business. I'll start at this end of the table. Wade?
I don't believe I have anything.
Jeff? Okay.
We're all set.
All right. And I guess I'm all set too. So, Gaetano.
I'd like to announce quickly that the issue about cemetery mowing has come up, and some changes were put into place that have since been undone, and the mowing will go back to the way things were.
Good.
So make sure the cemeteries are kept in proper shape.
Peter. Ben. Susan.
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. All right then. There was a need for an executive session, but I don't believe we have that documentation, Shannon. Shannon?
I'm sorry, what was that?
That had to do with merits.
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to get that, but haven't seen it. So perhaps we need to put this off to individual board members, board meetings. So one for the select board, one for the village trustees in their next meetings, please.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So there's no need for an executive session. I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay. think we can do this all together. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Aye.